Hey there, America! Tonight we're diving headfirst into the wild world of tariffs, specifically those unleashed by former President Trump. Remember those? Yeah, feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? But trust us, the economic hangover from those decisions is something we're still dealing with. Trump, in his infinite wisdom, decided to slap tariffs on goods coming in from other countries, mainly China. His reasoning? Well, he claimed it was to protect American jobs, boost our manufacturing, and fix that pesky trade deficit. You know, because America always has to be winning, even if it means everyone else kinda loses. Now, we're not economists, but even we know that messing with global trade is a bit like playing Jenga after a few too many beers. Sure, you might be able to pull off a risky move or two, but eventually, the whole thing is gonna come crashing down. So let's break down what went down and why those tariffs still matter today. Buckle up, folks, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. Alright, to understand the big deal about Trump's tariffs, we need a little history lesson. Don't worry, we promise to make it quick and painless, like a trip to the dentist. After World War II, the world was basically like a giant game of Jenga that someone forgot to put back in the box. Everyone was broke, things were chaotic, and nobody wanted to play anymore. So, what did the big brains of the world decide to do? They created a system where countries could trade more freely with each other. The idea was simple. The more you trade, the more everyone's economy grows. And for a while, it worked pretty well, especially for the good old US of A. We were like the Michael Jordan of manufacturing, just slam-dunking products left and right. But over time, other countries started upping their game. They built factories, trained workers, and guess what? They started making stuff cheaper than we could. Suddenly, the US wasn't the only game in town anymore, and some folks weren't too happy about it. Enter Trump and his tariffs, ready to make America great again, one import tax at a time. Now, Trump's big pitch for tariffs was that they'd bring back American manufacturing jobs and fix our trade deficit, which is basically like owing more money to other countries than they owe us. It sounds bad, but honestly, it's a bit more complicated than that. The idea behind tariffs is this: if you make foreign goods more expensive, people will buy American-made products instead. More demand for American goods means more factories opening up and more jobs, right? Well, in theory maybe, but the reality is a bit messier than that. See, tariffs might bring back some jobs, but they also make things more expensive for everyone. Remember those washing machines that suddenly cost an arm and a leg? Yeah, tariffs were partly to blame. And when people have to spend more on basic goods, they have less money to spend on other stuff, which can hurt the economy overall. It's like a game of economic whack-a-mole. You solve one problem, and another one pops up. Okay, so tariffs make things more expensive, we get it. But what about those jobs Trump promised? Did the tariffs actually put more Americans back to work? Well, it's complicated. Some industries like steel did see a bit of a boost. But those gains were often offset by job losses in other areas like manufacturing that relied on imported materials. Plus, those new jobs? They weren't always the high-paying, family-sustaining jobs of the past. Some were just temporary gigs, while others were in industries that were already struggling to compete. And let's not forget about the little guy in all of this, the American consumer. When prices go up because of tariffs, it's regular folks who feel the pinch the most. It's like a hidden tax that hits your wallet every time you go to the store. So, while some people might have seen a boost from tariffs, many others ended up paying the price. Section 5 Trade Wars, not just a bad hair day. Now remember how we said messing with global trade is like playing Jenga after a few beers? Well, things get even more precarious when you factor in the potential for trade wars. See, when one country, cough cough the United States, starts slapping tariffs on goods from another country, China, the other country isn't just going to sit there and take it. They're going to retaliate with tariffs of their own, which can then trigger a tit-for-tat escalation that hurts everyone involved. It's like a playground fight, but with billions of dollars at stake. And it's not just the United States and China that get caught in the crossfire. Trade wars can disrupt global supply chains, making it harder and more expensive for businesses everywhere to get the materials they need. This can lead to slower economic growth, higher prices, and even job losses, even in countries that weren't directly involved in the trade spat. It's like a ripple effect, but instead of water, it's economic chaos. Section 6. Fixing the system, not just slapping on band-aids. So, if tariffs are such a risky move, what's the alternative? Well, instead of just slapping on economic band-aids, some experts argue that we need to address the underlying issues that led to the decline of American manufacturing in the first place. One idea is to invest in education and job training programs to help American workers adapt to the changing global economy. Another is to provide direct government support to struggling industries like manufacturing to help them compete on a level playing field. Others argue that we need to address unfair trade practices by other countries like China, which have been accused of dumping cheap goods on the global market and stealing intellectual property. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but one thing's for sure. Simply slapping on tariffs without addressing the root causes is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Section 7. Team Tariff, we're just leveling the playing field. Now, not everyone thinks tariffs are a bad idea. Some people, mainly those who feel left behind by globalization, believe that tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs and businesses from unfair foreign competition. Look, they argue, China has been playing dirty for years, manipulating their currency, stealing our technology, and flooding the market with cheap goods. We need to fight fire with fire and protect our own workers. They see tariffs as a way to level the playing field and bring back manufacturing jobs that were lost to countries with lower wages and laxer environmental regulations. They're willing to accept higher prices in the short term if it means a stronger American economy in the long run. Section 8. Team Free Trade Tariffs, more like terrible idea ifs. On the other side of the debate, you have economists and business leaders who argue that tariffs are a terrible idea that will ultimately hurt American consumers and the economy as a whole. Tariffs are nothing but a tax hike on American families, they argue. They'll lead to higher prices, slower economic growth, and job losses in industries that rely on imported goods. They believe that the best way to compete in the global economy is to focus on innovation, education, and free trade agreements that open up new markets for American goods and services. They argue that tariffs are a short-sighted solution that will only make things worse in the long run. Section 9. The future of free trade. Is this the end, or just a bump in the road? So, what does the future hold for free trade? Are Trump's tariffs a sign that the era of globalization is coming to an end, or is this just a bump in the road? The answer, as with most things in economics, is it's complicated. The global economy is constantly evolving, and it's impossible to predict with certainty what the future holds. However, one thing is clear: the debate over tariffs and free trade is far from over. As long as there are winners and losers in the global economy, there will be those who argue for protectionist measures like tariffs. It's up to policymakers to weigh the costs and benefits and make decisions that are in the best interests of their citizens.